So the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again just dropped today, and unfortunately my fears were confirmed. I believe that on the surface, if you're not thinking too deeply about what is happening in front of you, the first 2 episodes were decently fun. The action itself was pretty good at times and pretty bad at others, and in some ways it definitely does resemble the Daredevil Netflix TV show, but in other ways it really doesn't. So I'm going to quickly go over and review the first 2 episodes, starting off with episode 1. Obviously, major spoiler warnings ahead. The opening of episode 1 is insane. The decision for Bullseye to pop up immediately and off Foggy Nelson is definitely a ballsy one. And I think it could have been a really good decision, but I'm not sure I really love the way they handled it. I feel the idea of immediately killing a beloved character from a 3-season-long TV show could go really well, or it could go really horribly. And for a split second, I thought they were going to stick the landing and make this a really well done and impactful death. But the thing is, they pull back in the final moment. Now, I know a lot of people would not have been happy if Matt ended up killing Bullseye in this moment. But for me personally, given the circumstances, I really think he should have. This is a moment of tragedy and a moment of tension that Matthew and Daredevil have never felt before. Matthew is a strong person with a strong will, but watching your best friend die in front of you and having the person who did it in your hands would be a very difficult moment for anyone. And I do believe that if anything were to push Matt over the edge and make him kill someone, it would be that person murdering Foggy or Karen, which he attempts to do. And in this moment, I thought he actually did kill Bullseye, and I was really shocked and stunned that the creator would make such a ballsy move so early. And the main reason I was so invested in this moment is the idea of Matt actually killing someone would open up a ton of really great plot lines moving forward. In Season 3 of Daredevil, Karen tells Matt that if he goes through with killing Fisk, or killing anyone in general, a lot about him would change. And honestly, if he actually did kill Bullseye here, that journey of him maybe trying to find himself after doing so could have been really interesting. But since he doesn't actually kill Bullseye, we're kind of just left in this weird limbo where Foggy died, but the full impact of his death isn't really felt to the full extent. So I am now very concerned for the future of this season that Foggy's death will just start to feel like a real afterthought. Beyond that, my biggest problem with this first episode is the canon that they are choosing to follow. They are trying to do this really weird thing where they are following the canon of Echo and the Wilson Fisk that was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, while also trying to take member berries and little things from Season 3 of Daredevil. And it creates this really annoying and unique issue where you spend a large majority of episode 1 trying to figure out what plot lines they're keeping and which ones they're throwing away. And unfortunately for us, they're keeping the really stupid ones, such as everything that goes down with Echo, and getting rid of the really good ones, such as the majority of Season 3 of the Daredevil Netflix show. Which brings me to my main critique of not only episode 1, but Wilson Fisk's entire character journey in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How on earth is this character out of jail? The ending of Daredevil Season 3 is very conclusive. Wilson Fisk has lost. There is no getting out of jail anymore. Matt will come for Vanessa if he tries to take any sort of power. And there is absolutely no redeeming himself in the public light because this is now the second time that he's been outed as a criminal and someone evil. Agent Nadeem is debatably the best and most interesting character of Daredevil Season 3, and his entire character arc seems to be retconned. So, whenever Wilson Fisk is on screen, running for mayor, talking with Matt, or doing anything, all I keep thinking about is how he isn't allowed to be here. So this is what I mean, where if you watch the show with your eyes closed and your brain off, and forget all of these really key and important moments, you might be able to get some enjoyment out of this first episode, but the moment you critically think about it, even a little bit, it just starts to fall apart. Now, one thing I also really didn't stand about this episode is how Matt is just working with someone else now. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this point, but after the death of Foggy Nelson, I do not see Matt just becoming a bigger lawyer with someone new. Within less than a year, he just has a new partner, and I can kind of hear an argument as to why this isn't a bad thing, but for me personally, I didn't like it. He shouldn't have moved on in terms of partners so fast. Now, my second biggest issue with this episode is someone directly tied to Wilson Fisk, Vanessa. So I guess she just became the real kingpin off screen, even though Matthew directly tells Wilson Fisk and Vanessa that if she so much as moves a finger the wrong way, he will come for her and lock her up. How is this happening? How has she been running this whole crime ring underneath everyone's nose? Also, what is going on with Wilson Fisk and Vanessa's relationship? Why all of a sudden do they not love each other? The relationship really feels like it's on the outs and they're disagreeing and their thoughts and opinions and feelings aren't aligning anymore. And I keep asking myself how this is possible because, again, a major theme and major part of Wilson Fisk's character throughout all 3 seasons of the Daredevil Netflix show is that he loves Vanessa unconditionally, and their relationship is what's holding him together at this point. How are they just randomly on the outs off screen? She cheats on him in this episode, and it just doesn't work. And episode 1 unfortunately ends with Wilson Fisk winning and becoming mayor. And maybe some of you don't really know how New York City works, but as someone who lives there, there is no chance on Earth someone like Wilson Fisk would ever win in this city. Daredevil is trying to be grounded and realistic, and let me tell you, someone with that kind of mindset would not be in office here. But moving on, let's talk about episode 2. Now, episode 2 is the more difficult one for me to discuss, because I'm not going to lie to you, I actually enjoyed episode 2 far more than I did episode 1. Actually watching Wilson Fisk in the position of mayor and scheming was super fun and interesting to me. And 2 moments that really stuck out to me were when Ben Urich's niece came to visit him and they kind of had a political back and forth. I thought it was a really interesting callback to season 1, and it's going to be interesting to see how this develops moving forward in this season. His scene with the police commissioner was also really, really good, with him manipulating his loved ones. It was just very Kingpin-esque. I also really like the development of Matt defending the White Tiger. It's a really interesting character study, with Matt basically looking at a version of himself that he was letting go. But what really stood out to me about this episode was the ending. I can't lie, when Matt beat the 2 crooked cops, I was super invested and I was having a great old time. In this exact moment, you could really tell that Charlie Cox is still Daredevil and he still has it. The primal scream he gives at the end of the episode after doing something he said he would never do again was so interesting and so great to experience. With all that being said, I circle back to my original issue. The moment you start to think about what is going on for more than 2 seconds, and especially in the context of season 3 of Daredevil, it all falls apart. To put this bluntly, if we go all of season 1 without them explaining how Wilson Fisk got out of jail and is now the mayor of New York City, considering the ending of Daredevil season 3, part of the show will always fall flat on its face for me. But with all that being said, there was definitely a lot of base level enjoyment that I got out of these first 2 episodes, specifically the second one. As far as 2 premiere episodes go, the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again had some issues and were far from perfect, but they were interesting, intriguing, and somewhat enjoyable. I unfortunately do not think that this season of Daredevil will live up to the quality of the first 3 seasons, specifically seasons 1 and 2 of the Netflix show, but for what it is, I do think I will derive some enjoyment from this show. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my opinions, if you think I'm going crazy, and let me know what you thought of the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Peace.